Step into the past with us as we uncover a treasure trove of bathroom ideas that once defined style and practicality but have slowly slipped from modern memory. Imagine stepping onto plush carpeting as you exit a pastel pink tub, or hearing the satisfying pull of a high-mounted chain to flush your toilet. From charming penny tiles underfoot to razor blade slots tucked discreetly into the wall, these forgotten details tell the story of how our bathrooms once balanced beauty, comfort, and clever innovation. Today, we'll dust off the history of 10 remarkable features that graced homes in decades gone by, some long vanished, others quietly resurfacing amidst a wave of nostalgic design. Whether you grew up with a freestanding medicine cabinet or have only seen these gems in photos, prepare to be surprised by the creativity and character that once defined the most private room in the house. Stick around and see if you spot a forgotten favorite or discover a quirky design that deserves a second chance. Imagine stepping into a bathroom from decades ago. Not just a space for routine, but a canvas where people dreamed up clever solutions to everyday problems. It's easy to look back and chuckle at avocado green sinks or ornate clawfoot tubs, but so many of these designs were more than just a quirky trend. They were thoughtful answers to the needs of their time, mixing practicality with a surprising amount of flair. Back then, inventiveness was everywhere, small touches that turned a simple washroom into a place of comfort and even delight. You'd find unexpected colors, bold materials, and features born from optimism for the future. Some of these ideas might seem odd by today's standards. But if you look a little closer, you'll find a certain charm, proof that old doesn't always mean outdated. In fact, many of these innovations were ahead of their time, influencing not just how bathrooms looked, but how they felt to use. Today, we're taking a trip through time, exploring how these vintage creations combined form and function in ways that still inspire us. So, open your mind to the past with me. Let's peek behind the bathroom door and see how yesterday's ingenuity might even spark ideas for tomorrow. Have you ever wondered why vintage bathrooms so often shimmer in soft pinks, seafoam greens, buttery yellows, and baby blues? Step back to the 1950s and 60s, and you'll find America in the midst of a pastel revolution right behind bathroom doors. These cheerful colors weren't just a design whim, they were a reflection of hope, optimism, and a hunger for brighter days after a long, tough era. Bathrooms, once plain and purely functional, bloomed with color as families looked for ways to bring joy and modernity into every corner of their homes. Imagine waking up and wandering into a space that felt sunny, playful, and new, no matter the hour or season. Pastel fixtures, think sinks, tubs, and toilets, became the new status symbol. It wasn't just about looking pretty. It was about starting your day feeling lifted, surrounded by a palette that promised better times. One of the most iconic shades to emerge from this era? A lovely, optimistic pink that swept the nation. They called it Mamie Pink, named after First Lady Mamie Eisenhower. She adored the color, and soon, pink bathrooms were all the rage in suburban homes across the country. Even manufacturers raced to create new shades, like surf green and cameo blue, giving homeowners a rainbow of porcelain possibilities. The result? Bathrooms became a canvas for self-expression, a place where design and personality shone just as brightly as any living room. It's funny to think how something as simple as a pink toilet or a blue bathtub could capture a nation's hopes and dreams. And today, these pastel fixtures are making a comeback, celebrated for their charm and whimsical energy. They remind us that, sometimes, a little color really can change the way we see the world, even if it's just for a moment each morning. Now, let's talk about a bathroom innovation that once reigned supreme, the pull-chain toilet. If you've ever seen an old movie set in the early 1900s, you've probably spotted these tall, tank-on-the-wall wonders. High above your head, a porcelain or metal cistern loomed, connected by a long pipe to the toilet bowl below. To flush, you reached up and tugged a dangling chain, sometimes with a dramatic flourish. But these weren't just quirky relics. They were, at the time, a leap forward in both sanitation and design. Pull-chain toilets let gravity do the hard work, sending a powerful rush of water down the pipe to clear the bowl. This was a huge improvement over earlier, less effective systems, and it made indoor plumbing cleaner and more reliable for families. There's something almost theatrical about them, the way the chain dangles, the satisfying sound of the flush echoing off tiled walls. In fact, their industrial look, exposed pipes, chunky hardware, gave bathrooms a bold, functional charm that's hard to replicate today. But like many great ideas, pull-chain toilets had their time. As technology advanced, so did the design of our bathrooms. Plumbing became more compact, and homeowners wanted fixtures that took up less space and blended in with sleek, modern interiors. Low-tank toilets became the new standard, easier to install, easier to clean, and less visually in your face. Gradually, the pull-chain toilets disappeared from new homes and renovations, becoming a rare sight outside of historic buildings or vintage-themed restaurants. Still, there's a certain nostalgia that clings to them. They remind us of a moment in time when innovation meant making things visible, pipes, tanks, and all. And for some vintage enthusiasts, nothing beats the old-school charm of reaching up for that satisfying pull. It's a little reminder that even the most practical parts of our homes can carry a touch of drama and history. Now, let's talk about a trend that really turned up the warmth and maybe raised a few eyebrows, too: carpeted bathrooms. Yes, you heard that right. In the 1960s and 70s, wall-to-wall carpet wasn't just for living rooms and bedrooms. It crept its way right onto bathroom floors. Why? Well, at the time, carpet was a hallmark of comfort and luxury. Homeowners wanted every room to feel cozy, soft, and inviting, even the bathroom. No more tiptoeing across cold tile on a winter morning. Instead, you could sink your toes into plush, warm carpet as you brushed your teeth. The idea made perfect sense, at least in theory. It was all about creating a spa-like retreat right at home. Magazines showed photos of pastel or shag carpeting in bathrooms paired with matching towels, shower curtains, even toilet lid covers. It was all the rage. But there was a catch, actually, several. Bathrooms, by nature, are humid, damp places. Water and carpet don't make the best of friends. No matter how careful you were, sooner or later, someone would step out of the tub with wet feet, or a sink would overflow. The carpet would soak it all up. And unlike a throw rug, carpet couldn't just be tossed into the wash. Moisture trapped between the carpet and floor quickly became a breeding ground for mold and mildew. There was also the, let's just say, less than fresh aroma that could linger, no matter how much you vacuumed or sprayed. Maintenance became a nightmare. Suddenly, that once cozy space felt a little less inviting. By the early 80s, people started ripping out bathroom carpets in favor of easier-to-clean, water-resistant surfaces. Still, for a brief moment in design history, carpeted bathrooms were the ultimate symbol of luxury, proving that sometimes the things we do for comfort can come with unexpected consequences. But you have to admire the creativity. And maybe, just a little bit, the boldness of it all. Let's take a moment to appreciate what's underfoot: penny tile flooring. If you've ever set foot in a vintage bathroom, you might notice those tiny, round tiles covering the floor in mesmerizing patterns. Penny tiles first became popular in the early 1900s, and there's a reason they've stuck around in our memory. Not only were they durable, standing up beautifully to decades of wet feet and soapy water, but they also brought artistry into everyday life. Back then, installing penny tile was a true craft. Skilled workers would lay out intricate designs, flowers, borders, even geometric mosaics, one small tile at a time. No two bathrooms ever looked quite the same, and that's a big part of their charm. They made even the most practical space feel a little bit special. And these tiles weren't just about looks, they were practical, too. The grouted surface actually made the floors less slippery, which was a thoughtful bonus in a room that's all about water. Over time, as tastes changed and new materials came along, penny tile quietly faded into the background. But lately, there's been a real resurgence. Retro enthusiasts and modern designers alike are rediscovering penny tile for its timeless beauty and flexibility. You can spot it in bold black and white patterns or soft pastel floral motifs, the same styles that graced bathrooms nearly a century ago. Some people mix classic tile layouts with modern colors for a look that feels both nostalgic and fresh. If you're renovating an old house or just craving a touch of vintage flair, penny tile is a nod to the past that still works perfectly today. It's proof that great design doesn't have to shout. Sometimes, it's the quiet details under your feet that make a space memorable. Now, let's step into the spotlight and talk about the real showstopper of vintage bathrooms, the clawfoot tub. Just picture it, a grand bathtub perched on 4 elegant feet, promising a soak fit for royalty. These tubs first made their mark in the late 1800s, when indoor plumbing was still considered a bit of a luxury. Back then, a clawfoot tub wasn't just for getting clean. It was a statement piece. Cast iron and coated in thick porcelain, these bathtubs were built to last, and they did. Many still survive today, passed from one homeowner to the next. What made the clawfoot tub so special wasn't just its looks, though that definitely helped. It was the experience. Unlike modern bathtubs that often feel shallow or cramped, a clawfoot tub invited you to sink in and truly unwind. Hot water up to your chin, feet stretched out, maybe a good book resting on the rim. It was relaxation in its purest form. Of course, all that cast iron came with a price. These tubs were heavy, really heavy. Getting one up a narrow staircase or onto an upper floor was no small feat. And once you filled it up, you'd better hope the floorboards could handle the weight. As homes evolved and bathrooms shrank, clawfoot tubs started to lose their spot in the limelight. People wanted fixtures that were lighter, more compact, and easier to clean around. By the mid-20th century, most new homes favored built-in tubs. But here's the thing, classic style never really goes away. Today, clawfoot tubs are staging a comeback, often in lightweight acrylics or fiberglass. They deliver that same sense of luxury, but without the backbreaking heft. Designers are even playing with color and foot shapes, blending vintage charm with modern sensibilities. So, if you've ever dreamed of soaking in old-school style, or just crave a tub that makes every bath feel like an occasion, the clawfoot might just be your bathroom's crowning jewel. Now, let's talk about a tiny detail that's easy to miss, but once you know about it, you'll never forget it, the mysterious razor blade slot. If you've ever renovated a mid-century bathroom or peeked behind an old medicine cabinet, you might have stumbled upon a thin, perfectly straight slot in the back. Not a drawer, not a secret compartment, just a slit in the metal or mirror. So, what was it for? Back in the days before disposable razors were a thing, men, and sometimes women, used safety razors with thin, double-edged blades. Once the blade got dull, you couldn't just toss it in the trash. It was sharp, dangerous, and could easily poke through garbage bags. So, homeowners and builders came up with a brilliantly simple solution: let the used blades fall into the wall. That little slot was a direct line into the hollow space between your bathroom walls. Drop in a blade, and it was gone, out of sight, out of mind. Over the decades, countless blades would build up in an ever-growing pile, silently collecting behind the plaster. It feels almost whimsical, doesn't it? Like a secret time capsule filled with shiny slivers from another era. Of course, what seemed clever back then is a bit more alarming now. Anyone doing renovations on an old house will sometimes open a wall and find a pile of rusty razor blades, sometimes hundreds, waiting like buried treasure. Not exactly treasure you'd want to find with your bare hands. Safety standards have changed a lot since then, and for good reason. Today, we use blade banks or sealed containers for disposal. But there's a strange nostalgia to these little slots. They're a reminder of the way people solved problems in a time before plastic and convenience. A hidden detail lost behind the mirror, leaving its mark in the walls and in the imagination of anyone who discovers it. Now, let's talk about a design that's all about graceful simplicity, the pedestal sink. Picture walking into a vintage bathroom. There it is, standing tall and proud, almost like a porcelain sculpture. The pedestal sink was the star of early and mid-20th century bathrooms, and for good reason. It offered a super clean look that made small spaces feel bigger. Without clunky cabinetry underneath, the whole room opened up. Light bounced around. Even a tiny powder room could feel spacious. There's something elegant about the way a pedestal sink meets the floor, no fuss, just pure form. If you look closely at older models, you'll notice subtle details, fluted columns, gentle curves, and glazes that seem to glow in the morning sun. These sinks proved you didn't need a lot of ornamentation to make a statement. Sometimes, less truly is more. But as time marched on, our priorities shifted. Suddenly, we wanted more storage, lots more. Toothpaste tubes, hair dryers, all the clutter of modern life needed somewhere to hide. The pedestal, beautiful as it was, just couldn't compete with the practical allure of vanities and built-in cabinets. Gradually, it faded from the spotlight. Yet, as with so many vintage trends, the pedestal sink is making a quiet comeback. Minimalist interiors and small space living have reignited interest in their understated charm. Designers today pair them with wall-mounted shelves or clever storage nearby. That way, you get both simplicity and function. There's also a kind of nostalgia at play. The pedestal sink reminds us of gentler mornings and slower routines. A time when getting ready was less about rushing and more about ritual. Maybe that's why so many people are rediscovering their appeal. So next time you see a pedestal sink, take a second look. Sometimes, the simplest designs are the ones that stand the test of time. Let's pause for a moment at something you might remember from your childhood home, or maybe your grandparents, the freestanding medicine cabinet. Not just a place to stash your toothpaste and Band-Aids, these cabinets were truly the multitaskers of their time. Mounted right above the sink, they doubled as your morning mirror and your secret keeper for all things essential. Pull open that little metal door, and you'd find shelves lined with glass bottles, well-worn combs, and maybe even a forgotten box of cough drops. Some cabinets had rounded edges, while others were boxy and practical. But they all shared that satisfying, clunky click when the door shut, a tiny sound that somehow made the whole bathroom feel secure. And here's what made them so beloved: they brought order to the chaos. In an era before oversized vanity units and built-in cabinetry, these cabinets offered just enough room for the important stuff, without encouraging clutter. It was a different kind of storage, one that required you to be a little bit thoughtful about what you kept and what you tossed. There was a certain charm to the way everything had its place, hidden away but always within arm's reach. Over time, as bathroom design shifted towards seamless built-ins and endless drawers, the trusty freestanding medicine cabinet lost its spot in the limelight. Homeowners craved more space, more storage, and a sleeker look. Yet, for all their practical appeal, those big modern vanities often missed something, that personal touch. Maybe that's why, today, vintage medicine cabinets have come back into style. People hunt them down at antique shops and flea markets, not just for their quirky good looks, but for the sense of nostalgia they bring. They're reminders of a time when bathrooms felt a little more individual and a little less like everyone else's. And who knows? Maybe in the search for character and simplicity, the cabinet that once stood alone is about to enjoy its comeback moment. Now, let's talk about a feature that truly defined winter comfort in older homes, the cast iron radiator. If you've ever stepped into a vintage bathroom on a chilly morning, you might remember that gentle, even warmth, the kind that made cold tile floors almost inviting. There was nothing quite like the reassuring tick and hiss of a radiator as it slowly filled the room with heat. Radiators were more than just practical, they were often beautifully designed, with intricate patterns and graceful legs. Some were tucked beneath frosted windows, while others stood proudly in a corner, taking up space but giving back so much in return. They'd warm your towel, fog up the mirror, and make even the tiniest bathroom feel a little more like a cozy sanctuary. Compared to today's sleek underfloor heating, those old radiators might seem a bit bulky. But there's a certain charm in their presence, a reminder of an era when enduring materials and careful engineering were the norm. Underfloor heating is almost invisible, seamless with modern design. It's even, efficient, and you'll never stub your toe on it. But you can't drape a towel over a heated floor or warm your pajamas on a toasty radiator before bed. That's probably why so many vintage enthusiasts are bringing old radiators back to life. They hunt for cast iron relics at salvage yards, restore them, and let them take pride of place again, this time in bathrooms that blend the best of old and new. And it's not just about nostalgia. Restored radiators can be surprisingly efficient, especially when paired with modern boilers. Plus, they tell a story. Every scratch and swirl in the iron is a piece of history, connecting us to all those chilly mornings that came before. So the next time you feel the warmth in your bathroom, whether it's from coils under your feet or a radiator by the wall, take a moment to appreciate how far we've come, and how much we still love a little comfort on a cold day. Let's take a moment to appreciate one of the most quietly ingenious features found in older homes, the laundry chute. If you ever lived in a house with one, you know exactly how satisfying it was to drop a bundle of dirty towels or clothes through that little hatch and hear it whoosh away, straight down to the basement. No lugging heavy baskets down the stairs. No clutter piling up in bedrooms or hallways. Just the magic of gravity doing the work for you. These chutes were especially practical in multi-level homes, where laundry rooms were almost always tucked away in the basement. Families with kids, especially big families, could rely on the chute to keep things moving smoothly. It was a little luxury, a spark of everyday convenience that made chores just a bit easier. But as homes evolved, so did our approach to laundry. Laundry rooms started migrating closer to where the dirty clothes actually piled up, on the main floor, sometimes even right next to bedrooms. That meant the old vertical drop was suddenly less useful, and new homes simply didn't bother with it. There were other reasons, too. As building codes became stricter, concerns grew about fire safety. An open shaft running from floor to floor is, after all, a perfect channel for smoke and flames. Child safety became another worry. Those chutes could be tempting for little explorers. Sealing them up started to make more sense than keeping them around. Today, finding a working laundry chute is a treat, almost a quirky bit of history. Some homeowners even repurpose them, turning them into hidden storage or fun conversation pieces. But anyone who's ever tossed a shirt down a chute knows it was one of those small, practical details that made home life run just a little smoother in an era before convenience was only a button away. Isn't it amazing to see how much creativity and care went into these old bathroom features? It's easy to laugh at things like carpeted bathrooms or pull-chain toilets, but each had a reason behind it, a bit of hope, practicality, or even a touch of luxury. What stands out most is how these designs, quirky as they sometimes were, tried to make daily life a little more comfortable, a little more beautiful. Some ideas, like mosaic tile or clawfoot tubs, were so thoughtful that they've circled right back around into modern style. Others remind us how taste and technology change over time. But there's a certain charm in the mix of form and function, isn't there? It really makes you wonder, should we revisit some of these old ideas, maybe with a new twist? Would you bring back pastel sinks, or maybe sneak a laundry chute into your next remodel? Or do you love the sleek, minimalist bathrooms of today? Let me know in the comments which vintage feature you'd revive, or maybe redesign, for your dream bathroom. Because sometimes, the best step forward is drawing a little inspiration from the past. Thanks for taking this nostalgic journey with me. I can't wait to hear your thoughts.